Hello, folks. I'm Mike Eastman, the host of the Eastmans Hunting Journal Podcast. As always, I have unique guests on that talk about their life, their experiences, and always give you something that you can learn from. Today is no different. I have Christian Schauf. Now, you say, Christian Schauf, where have I heard that name? He was in a band in the 90s and has been on the red carpet, but he spent a ton of time working with the military and doing all of the entertainment for those guys that are sitting in the desert trying to fight for your freedoms. He has some really cool stories about that, plus about his background, as well as some insights. He is an adrenaline junkie, and his dog sits down with us, which is really cool. His dog is a really unique individual, almost died. He tells us the story of how he saved his dog's life in the backcountry with a cut open leg and almost, if it was within minutes of that dog bleeding out. So sit back, listen to Christian and him talk about life and the uniqueness of it. Are you an avid hunter looking for the perfect trailer to haul your gear? Look no further than Team Lodge trailers. These trailers are made in South Dakota and for the ultimate hybrid of a camper and a trailer. With the ability to haul your side-by-side ATV, dirt bike, e-bikes, and more, you'll never have to leave your gear behind. They are extremely sturdy with no wind shake or movement when someone is walking in the camper. Plus, they are waterproof and designed by hunters who actually use the product. The bear-proof base camp ensures to safety while out in the wild. You'll also love that these trailers are outfitted with the only accessories and the features you want. Premium components are used in every part of the setups, making Team Lodge trailers the best choice for your outdoor adventures. So, Christian, we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But you live here in Utah, right?
Park City.
Are you from here?
No, I'm from northern Wisconsin, a town called Barron, which is this guy's name, actually. My
dog,
okay. Who's, if you're not watching the video, I got my dog laying next to me. But yeah,
right.
So Barron, Wisconsin is where I'm from.
Okay.
And I've been in Park City about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And growing up, did you grow up hunting? I mean, you're Wisconsin. I don't know if you
can't.
Yeah,
I did. So we have a big dairy farm. I grew up on a farm, and so it's whitetails, right? Now we have black bears and turkeys. Like, they've all moved in since I moved out. But, I'll be honest, I wasn't a super avid hunter growing up, because if you think about it, I'm like, early teens, you're sitting in a tree stand in November freezing. You don't have an iPhone back then. Right. And
you're literally watching the leaves fall.
Yeah, you are. And I did it, but I didn't get like super passionate about it until later in life. But yeah, we definitely hunted. Most of my memories are Thanksgiving morning. We'd all the neighbors come over. We do drives through the cornfields, and there'd always be a couple animals down. And that's the memories I had. I shot a couple small deer growing up, but definitely outdoors. I've been around animals at the farm and raced snowmobiles. I was an outdoors farm kid for sure, and hunting was a part of it, but it wasn't as consuming as it is now for me.
So, grew up Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I did. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Okay.
So I got 2 degrees there, and then I got a degree from Berkeley in music production, actually. So I got a business degree and a marketing degree, and I was like playing in this cover band with my brother and some friends, and it just kept growing. And after college, I worked a job for a couple of years, and then I quit that I played in a band for 10 years. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we toured all over the world, I think, almost 40 countries. We shared a practice space with Soul Asylum. Like, 2 of the guys in my band were in Prince's band, the New Power Generation. So we ended up working with Prince here and there. It was just a crazy decade of my life. It feels like a movie I watched once when I think back on it.
Oh, I bet.
Just the people I was around, and I've sang the national anthem at a NASCAR race. It was 176,000 people that day there. We played shows in front of 90,000, and it was a really fun chapter.
I'll bet.
Yeah, I don't even know where where did that come from? Who'd you ask me?
So I didn't ask you.
Oh, you asked I went to school in Wisconsin. Yeah.
So is it one of those things that you look back on and go, it's crazy decade, but I never could do that again?
Yeah, I think that's a young man's sport. And the reason I got out of it eventually is just it's a lot of nights and you're missing your mornings. And for a kid that grew up on the farm that had to get up at 4:30 every morning, now you're getting done at 4:30 in the morning. And that was really hard for me. Like I felt, I don't know if it's like my parents' influence on me, but I felt lazy if I woke up and the sun was up. I didn't, and it never sat well with me, even though I like playing music and doing everything else. So, we ended up doing a bunch of stuff. We can get into it, but, yeah, that was
but what do you mean by a bunch of stuff?
Well, so as I was getting done playing, I was kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. We'd done 3 albums and we had record deal offers, but it was always a slavery contract. So we were just kind of like a small business, really.
Right.
And we were doing okay. And then we got asked to go play for the troops overseas. And that turned into, I've been to Iraq 39 times.
Oh my gosh.
So my brother and I, we went over and had a great first tour through a handful of countries in the Middle East, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain. And the head of programs was there. And he's like, I want you guys to come back again. And we got to be friendly. Long story short, my brother and I ended up having a business we started that controlled a chunk of the entertainment for the troops during Operation Iraqi Freedom. We figured out how to build like high-powered small speaker systems that would fit into Blackhawks, which allowed us to go to the forward operating bases and the joint security stations they couldn't get entertainment to previously because they were using airplanes and these places didn't have landing strips.
Holy buckets.
For like 8 years of my life, 9 years, I mean, my band did 150 shows and we were named Armed Forces Entertainers of the Year. And
this is during that 10-year period, or this is after?
Yeah. Kind of towards the end of it, yeah. Okay. And then it turned into really like managing other bands. So we'd guide the Spin Doctors around, or Hoobastank, or bands like that, right? We did action sports, and my life was literally I'd come home for a couple of weeks and I'd go to Iraq for a couple of weeks every month. And I mean, we'll lead into what I'm doing now, but it really made me think a lot about preparing and taking care of people and what could happen. And how do you make stuff really compact and effective? And so a very interesting time in my life.
My gosh, that had to have been absolutely, not only you feel like you're doing good work, because you're entertaining guys that are bored or needed that escape or whatever, but you're also hanging out with some of the coolest people, right? Some of the neatest bands.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I always tell people like I wasn't a cowboy, but I was a rodeo clown, like we were there and sometimes we were actually doing some pretty dangerous stuff. I mean, when you're flying between 3 little bases in a day in Blackhawks, like that's when you get shot at, So, there, I never want to have any stolen valor or anything like that, but it was one of those things where I just believe like, if we could help, we should help. And this was kind of God pushing us in that way to do something that we could contribute. Yeah. And they asked and we said yes. And so we just kept going until they didn't need us anymore and the war kind of died down. But you're totally right. It was just one of those things where, people would come up to you after and be like, this may sound weird, but for like an hour, I forgot I was here. Wow. And I think that's really what they need. They just needed a reset and they needed to be able to let their guard down for a minute. And those are pretty stressful environments, right? Yeah. So it was an amazing, amazing section of my life that, again, it feels like a movie I watched once. Pretty wild. I mean, I had my 30th birthday in Saddam Hussein's bedroom in the JVB at Camp Victory. Yeah, like the only cake they could find said like happy 75th anniversary or something. Like it was on the base. They brought that. Somebody gave me a wolf's tooth as a gift. And like that was my 30th birthday, and
that is awesome.
Yeah, it was, I mean, we got to drive tanks and shoot every gun under the sun and just have the most fun. If
my gosh,
the shows were always for the guys. Like if somebody was like, I play guitar, I'm like, come up here, play. And we just figure out how to play behind. I mean, it wasn't about us being like, here's our music. It was like,
here's some entertainment.
Whatever we'd find the highest ranking guy and make him stage dive into his troops. And we get all the NA beers we could find and have a beer fight, and we just tried to make it fun. Because at the end, it was like 5 dudes showing up to sing for a mostly dude crowd that's not drinking. And it was very awkward. Yeah, right?
It's weird.
Yeah, so what are you going to do? So I remember getting up there and being like, I am sorry we are not the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. But we're going to try to have some fun tonight. That's like my opening line.
We're close.
Yeah. But it was fun, man. It was a crazy experience. Like I said, if we could help, we wanted to. And it formed a lot of how I think about the rest of my life. So kind of a wild chapter.
Yeah. So you did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
What was the second chapter? Third chapter, I guess it would be.
I've started a few businesses. When I was home from that, I started a company called Crispin Cider, which is a hard apple cider. So a friend of mine was from South Africa, and that was big in South Africa. and he wanted to, he had done another beverage that he had sold. So this was really his baby, but brought me in, and he and I started in his attic. And, for like 3 years, it was just the two of us, and built that up and sold it to Miller Coors,
Really?
which was really exciting.
Is it an alcoholic?
Yeah, like
Okay.
a like a
So it's
hard
like a
apple
hard cider.
cider,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
all natural. So it's just fermented apples and apple juice. It was really good. He kind of served it over ice, and it was really fun. I learned a lot there too. You know, just
bet.
on building brands and messaging and communication and building.
Is that how
building
you
a
met
business.
Baker?
No, I just met Baker recently, just through
Okay.
this crazy world we're in. You know.
Yeah, he's the most connected person I know too.
He sure
Everybody
is.
knows Baker.
Yeah, that's true.
He did my podcast. He was on this podcast. Oh, I don't know, 4 months ago. He knows everybody.
He does. Well, he's always.
Everybody.
That's the thing people said about me, but it's like, if you're building something and you want it to grow, like you want to connect with the right people. And so much of like a small business, I think, is the people behind it.
Yeah.
And the right connections. You know, we were just talking about my buddy Kevin Miller, you know,
Right. Who he was on this podcast last year.
he was. Okay,
Here.
great. Yeah. Yeah. Hockey player. He's actually my neighbor. We hunt together. It's like, you got to meet those people, and you get to be friends with them, and they can influence how you think about things, and they might connect you to somebody else. And I don't care how much money you have for marketing, you can't replace just good humans meeting good humans and supporting each other. And
Right.
um,
The network. And,
Yeah.
and you're right. It's surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
That will pick each other up and lift each other up, as well as be there.
for sure.
And that is
Absolutely.
100%. That's one of my key factors. One of my things about success is you want to be, if you want to, the key to success, and one of them, there's multiple. One of them is surround yourself with good people,
For sure.
and you will be the sum of those good people. So
Yeah.
remember that.
Yep.
Don't be below it, because you'll be that guy. There's
Yeah.
always a jerk. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So, cider company.
Yeah.
What else did you do?
Yeah. And the other part with like the military was we started incorporating brands that wanted to support the troops. Harley Davidson, GoPro, Fox Racing, guys like that. And we did a lot of really cool stuff with them in theater. But then when I was home, they're like, hey, can you help us with this project and that project? So I started doing work for 5 or 6 different companies, kind of consulting. And that was really fun until one of them just wanted me full time to work for them. So I moved to Southern California to work for a company. I was head of marketing and sales. And if I'm honest, I just felt like a fish out of water in Newport Beach, California.
Oh,
It was
I'll
a great
bet.
experience, but I didn't enjoy the job I was in. And it just right away, I was like, oh, I got to figure out what's next, you know? But I put in my time, put in a couple of years, got the equity, invested, all that.
Right.
And was like, what's next? And, you know, being a Midwesterner, living on the East Coast, having the experiences I did around farming and military, it really was an abrupt change of culture for me, that everybody thought the answer to everything was on their phone. Like, they didn't think about changing a car tire themselves. They would call AAA, you know, and it's not that these people are dumb or anything. It's just that, you know, my dad's a farmer. Those people's dad is not a farmer. Like, they just get more and more removed from those like life skills.
Right.
And so I'm on the West Coast thinking about earthquakes and that kind of thing. And, and you know, it's like, I'm around people that actually have like not any small percentage of the life skills that these military guys have and stuff. That really put me on a path of like, how do you solve this? Because if something big happens, first responders are going to be able to help like less than 1%.
Yeah. It's good. They're going to be overwhelmed and underutilized.
The way humans have ever gotten through anything is through working together and banding together. And we have this culture now that's completely dependent on somebody else fixing their problem. And it really just like was unsettling to me. So that's what led me to start my new company, Uncharted Supply. And kind of was a thesis statement behind this. It's like, I really believe if we could build products that guide you through a situation, they have the instructions, they're easy to use. I think that could be a game changer, and it could not only save your butt, but maybe you can save somebody else.
So you said the company name really fast.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Sorry, Uncharted Supply Company. Is my company.
I thought that was Uncharted Supply, but I thought we were going into another company. I was like, okay, I don't know this one.
No, and now we're caught up. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Uncharted Supply.
That's
So
what I'm doing
let's
now.
talk about what is Uncharted Supply. What are you trying to provide? It's
Yeah,
obviously
We started with like survival kits because of what I just had talked about.
Yep.
You know, now I would say we've got kind of 2 main areas. One is emergency, and the other is like prepared adventure. So I like to say, be the hero of your own story.
Uh-huh.
And then I like to say, get all the way out there and get all the way home.
Right.
And so, you see companies that build medical stuff and maybe people that build just survival stuff. What we try to do is look at the things that are happening the most to people and how do you fix those problems in a way that is simple and effective.
The flat tires.
Yeah, flat tires, a dead battery, that kind of stuff. It's like, these little jump boxes that we sell a ton of. And, think about it. You're coming out from a hunt. You left the dome light on. It's freezing. You're 6 miles from cell service. You get back to your truck and it's dead and there's nobody around.
Yeah.
Well, that can turn into a whole fiasco. With our little tool, you just put it on the battery, you start your truck, and it's 20 seconds. It's like, if we can do those things, repeat those types of experiences at scale, I think we're like making the world a safer place for people. So that's what we really think about. We work hard at that. And the funny thing is, when I built it, I was thinking about the people that didn't have the experience. But what's happening now is we're selling to the FBI and CIA and the Border Patrol. And we have, John Barklow, who is the head of cold weather warfare training and survival for the SEAL teams.
I know John.
Came up to me at TAC this year and said, this is the best first aid kit I've ever seen in the market, and held ours up. And I was like, man, you're going to make me cry,
A guy that would know.
Yeah. But that kind of stuff, that's making me really happy with what we're doing. And I'm proud of what we're doing. And we're a long ways from where I ultimately want to be, but we're on the path and we're working hard. And
based out of Utah.
Yeah. Right up in Park City.
Good place to that.
Absolutely.
These people, you were talking about life skills in California. There's a lot of people wandering around in that state that aren't.
Yes.
This state does.
That's true.
The Intermountain West is what I call it. A lot of life skills here.
Oh yeah.
And they're the guys that are buying. They're the guys that think, I wonder what's going to happen if I get to a trailhead and there's no battery.
Yeah. I learn a lot from almost every. I mean, we just hired a guy, Elliot, and I didn't actually know much about his hobbies. He starts talking about the backcountry skiing he's doing, and
really
these huge 10,000-foot days of vertical, and I was like, wow, man, I need to leave. I mean, and there's just guys like that everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of a stud in the mountains, and it's just really humbling.
So I want to touch this because I think it's a shared hobby. I heard you said you raced snowmobiles.
I did.
Like circle?
Snowcross. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you still snowmobile?
Yeah, I've got a couple of Polaris RMKs. I got to go out and ride in the mountains. It's
boondocking.
Fun. Yeah. I mean, I'm a decent mountain rider. I'm still learning. I never want to over exaggerate my skills.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than the Midwest, right?
It is.
Like riding old ZR 440s in races and leaning off the inside of the left turn. And
the only thing that's the same is the snow. Everything else is different.
Well, and the snow's completely different, man. Because in the Midwest, there's like a bottom to it.
Yeah.
And out here, it's just, it's bottomless. So
how's your season been this year?
I've not been on my snowmobile once.
I haven't either. I'm a Skidoo guy. I bought a brand new Skidoo this year.
Ugh.
I've started it once because my youngest daughter just wanted to hear what the new sled sounded like.
So sad.
It's horrible.
I know.
Absolutely horrible. Hopefully we get some, you guys are probably getting snow now, but hopefully we get some so I can
There's just so many trade shows these last couple months and traveling. I've had 15 flights this year, and
oh my gosh,
there's no snow time.
Yeah.
So
it's a horrible time to be a snowmobiler.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So what's some of the things that you're, looking forward to or looking down the path, even with Uncharted or whatever, what are some of the stuff that you're focusing on?
Well, I mean, if I'm totally honest, relieving pressure is probably the most exciting thing on the near future. I mean, starting a business is a lot of work. It's all of my personal savings my whole life. It's all dumped into this, and I really believe in that. I believe in burning the ships. If you're going to do something,
burning the ships,
don't give yourself an out, because you will take it, because it will get hard enough that you'll want to take that at some point. So I intentionally do that. And we're figuring it out and we're growing, but I think everything that could happen to us has in the last 5 years, between bad investors and inventory issues and COVID. I mean, just everything.
COVID. Yeah.
So we're getting to a place now where it's like starting to really roll. People know us, and that's really exciting.
So are you going to continue with this? I don't want to call it prepper, because it's really not. It's really just day-to-day living and being prepared. Are you going to continue down that path, or is there something, your vision, something other than that?
Like with large scale emergency, I think we have a nice beachhead there with our kits, and we're launching new survival kits next year. And excuse me, there's a we're always going to be focused on that. I just think there's a million different ways to hack it. As we started, we were very generalist because of scale. I mean, you have a certain amount of money and
right.
small, and like, let's build a kit that works for as many people as possible. And where we're going now is getting more specialized, like kits for the job site, kits for hunting.
Yeah, because those are different kits.
Yeah, they're a little bit different. I mean, at the base of anything, the human body needs shelter, oxygen, food and water at a certain point, maybe medical, maybe communication. So no matter what you're doing, it's like there has to be this kind of thing that the human body operates within, but different environments and different things you're doing, different activities require different things to help protect you. So we're finding is it's kind of like a recipe where there's still flour and everything, but there's some different things on top that make it more effective.
This one has cheese. This one has chocolate chips.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of building that out.
So family?
No, I'm the dog here.
That's why I asked. I was like, the dog. So you got to tell me about the dog. This has got to be a huge story.
So yeah, I mean, I'm 43 and single, and I think a lot of that is just the business. I everybody always asks, why are you, what's wrong with you?
That's the way you take it.
They literally say, what's wrong with you? I don't think there's anything wrong with me. I think I've been pretty focused on building a business. I live in a small town. I've got a handful of employees. This is the path I'm on. This is my life, and trying to fix that. But you want to be selective about that kind of thing.
It'll happen when it happens, right?
Yeah. And in the meantime, we got Baron here, and we have a pretty good time. He's kind of with me all the time. He's our mascot. That's why he's here today.
Is he?
I would say he's our booth babe. Instead of having some chicks in the booth or whatever.
Got a cute dog. He's not cute. He's
pulls
big.
In everybody. Yeah, it's pretty
huge
funny.
Dog. Huge
so
dog.
He's a good guy, and he goes skiing with me, rides a snowmobile.
Does he? Okay, how do you do that? That is a big dog to have on a snowmobile.
Well, I'm not boondocking with him. We'll say that, but he actually swings his legs over the seat and puts his hands on the handlebars. And then, I got my hands on, so I can kind of hold him that way.
Right, hold him with your knees.
Cruises. Yeah, we've been doing this since he was a puppy, and it's just normal to him. So he's awesome. He's a lot of fun, and he's had a couple near-death experiences over the years that's given him some notoriety.
I saw he got clipped with a ski. How does that happen? Well,
we were backcountry skiing, and we were going in groups of 2 because it was kind of high avalanche danger. So doing that. He just got excited. He went with the first group with me, and then my buddies came and he just jumped in front of him. It was his fault.
Oh, geez.
So my buddy slammed into him, and I had to make a tourniquet out of one of our little first aid kits, put him on my shoulders, ski him down to my snowmobile, race him out.
Oh my gosh.
And he's all good now, but it was touch and go for about a day.
I'll bet for a while you're going, I hope I know enough about dog anatomy that I can keep him alive.
I learned more after.
I'll bet.
Their vascular systems are different. Tourniquets operate different on a dog because the way the blood flows around their arms and stuff are different than a human.
How are they different? Or how do you?
What
do you do different?
Yeah,
in your experience,
what I did was I had a couple zip ties and some duct tape and gauze and a stick, and I made a tourniquet out of that and crimped it off the best I could, duct taped it up, and just got him out of there. Yeah. I just figured slow it down. But what I learned later is their blood vessels are. Somebody's probably going to tell me I'm wrong here.
But that's okay. It's your experience. It doesn't matter.
The blood vessels run differently, so tourniquets aren't kind of the same with the dog. They kind of need something different. It worked. Yeah. We made it. I remember the vet was pretty shocked that we were able to get him back, given how bad it was.
How long was it between crash to vet?
I'm going to guess maybe an hour.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, I was way in the backcountry, so I had to... I sent one buddy up to the top of the hill to get cell service to call and find a vet that was open and tell him to stay open and tell him what was happening so they were ready.
Right.
It was a Saturday afternoon.
Of course.
I had one buddy go down and get the snowmobile and bring it halfway up. He's from California, never ridden a snowmobile. So I was like, don't go off the trail. Just bring it as close as you can. And then I got him fixed up through my shoulders, and it was powdery. It was a deep day. I've never been so sore, but it was pure adrenaline.
Because he's
120.
Yeah, he's got to be over 100 pounds on your back.
Threw my shoulders and just got him down there, got him on the sled, raced the sled to the truck, threw him in the truck, raced to the vet. They were waiting for us, and they were like, you probably had 5 minutes.
Really?
Gone. It was that close. So,
holy cow. So what would you have done differently with the tourniquet or any of it?
I think I would have held on to him so he wouldn't jump in front of the skier,
Yeah. Keep the whole, stop. Besides, stop the whole thing.
I don't know. I might have just cranked it down tighter. He was fighting pretty hard, and I was, obviously flustered and a little emotional about it. And I was like, it's good enough. Let's just go, and I don't know. There's always that, like, I know what the right thing to do is with humans and all that, but like, do you fight your dog who doesn't understand what's going on and spend another 5 minutes trying to get one more twist of that thing?
Yeah.
Or do you get him 5 minutes towards the snowmobile?
Yeah, because you're only 5 minutes from losing him anyway.
Right,
so what do you do? Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I don't know. I'm always trying to get better, and I don't have a totally different application to what I would have done there. It's just it was kind of reactionary and go.
Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Today, this one is sponsored by Eberly Stock. Eberly Stock has been a partner of ours for a really long time. In fact, the founder, Glenn Eberly, is one of my personal friends, a great gentleman. If you don't know much about him, check out the podcast with Glenn Eberly. He is one of the most interesting men I've ever been around. Now, let's talk about Eberly Stock. They are a unique company. They were started from a cockpit of an airplane, and it was all about backpacks for not only backcountry hunters, but also for guys in the military. These backpacks are designed to be modular. That's what the mainframe is, my favorite backpack. You can add pieces to it, take pieces away like scabbards, top packs, side pockets, the whole 9 yards. The bino harness is one of my favorite pieces. You can add to it, you can add side pockets, you can add a rangefinder pocket, you can add a muff to put your hands in when you're glassing, all kinds of stuff. Plus it has that guarantee. They have a massive guarantee on all of their products, all their straps, buckles, zippers, everything. So check them out at eberlystock.com and make sure you tell them Ike sent you. One of the things that I've thought about a lot, so you spend a lot of time with a lot of different military guys and a lot of different situations. As a common guy, myself or one of the audience, what can we do to help those guys for, escape for an hour? What
I think what I've always found interesting. So like when my band was playing shows, I would tell my band like, hey, the show is like such a small part of this. What they want is somebody to like come see the job they're doing and be like, that's really cool. Hang out with them. Like, how many guys you hear having babies and haven't seen them? They want to show somebody that, they're just around the same couple people all the time.
Oh, so just
being interested in what they're doing and saying thank you. And I think it's like an appreciation thing, really. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if you're just working in a black hole day in, day out and
with the same five guys.
Yeah. And you're kind of like, man, how do people feel about this? Or I wish I could, we all want accolades.
Right.
I'm not saying you have to fake it, but
right.
I think just verbally saying thank you and physically showing up, that always was like the biggest impact for me that I saw.
Yeah.
Like I would always end up in some like internet lounge till 2 a.m. just talking with 4 guys that just wanted to tell somebody some stories.
Really?
They just wanted to like communicate and talk about back home, or, you and I could talk about snowmobiles,
right.
Just like,
whatever,
just tell stories and just kind of check out and think about that. And so, as a first reaction to that question, that's what I would say.
Yeah. You're talking snowmobiles. So one of the guys that I've had on this podcast is Chris Burdan. Do you know that name?
Very well. Yes.
Okay. So a really nice guy, huge hunter.
Yep.
One hell of a snowmobile rider, right?
Yeah.
Like changed the world industry with snowmobile. One of the things he says all the time is, and he's told me this multiple, because I'm like you, I don't get enough time to ride a lot, so I'm not really good. I mean,
right.
I'm good enough to go with my buddies. That's about it. And he says all the time, he goes, just keep doing it. Yeah. You're going to get better, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So just keep doing it. So that's one of the school of thoughts here for you. It's snowmobiles, just keep doing it.
For sure.
But
yeah.
So military, obviously band. Do you still sing? Do you still play?
I mean, the most singing I really do is sometimes when it's a friend's birthday, I'll do a little video and sing them happy birthday, But I play at home, like if friends come over.
Yeah.
It's weird. People always like, hey, you guys should play another show. And like, that's kind of like asking Brett Favre to go play a game. It's like, I haven't done it for a while. There's a lot of practice. And
you're still buddies with them all?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm still buddies with them all. I mean, they're all got different lives. One's my brother, so I see him a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and some they're still playing here and there, doing things.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, there's no bad blood or anything. Just kind of.
Times change.
You know, it's funny. It ran its course. We had a third album we had just gotten done. It was really good. We were getting a lot of really interesting interest from it. There's a pretty big musician in Nashville wanted us to come down and do a couple versions of country. He thought he could put us under his label and do that. It sounds like the summer of '69, but like my brother got married. Harley Davidson hired me to go to Austria to do some stuff for a couple of weeks. And after that, things just kept rolling in a different direction. And we just that was it.
It's not like you all decided to quit. You just kind of
so
went a
weird.
different direction.
Yeah,
That's
for
cool.
how big it was, we just one day were like,
What was the album that came out last?
I mean, we called it 3. It was our third album, but
Did it actually? Did you publish it?
You can
Did
find it on Spotify and iTunes and everything.
It's called 3.
Yeah, our band was called Catch Penny. The album was called 3 because I don't know why we did that. It's a long time ago. This all feels like a fat baby picture. It's like, yeah, that's what we were doing back then. It's weird now, but
so hunting. We talked a little bit about.
Yeah, I had a pretty weird season. I shot a bull at 17 yards. It was a great shot, and I never found him.
Oh,
Like I watched the arrow go in. I think I hit a rib and it deflected forward. Yeah, I found part of the arrow and kind of pieced together what I could figure out happened. He had laid down. He got back. I heard him get back up like an hour later, stumble. I was like, I backed out, came back the next day, never found him.
Never found him.
So I just wanted to meet, right? And Kevin was like, hey, man, come on over.
Yeah,
So,
we got a problem.
Yeah.
Wow. I hate that. There's nothing worse than losing an animal.
There is nothing.
Especially when you're like, I'm pretty sure I hit him in a good spot. He didn't, I wasn't in that what I call the triangle of no death, which is right, above their spine. And
I mean, I had just changed my fletchings from white to red. And I had shot a bunch of tacks all year. I was used to watching a white arrow go, right? And I remember thinking he's bleeding already when the arrow hit. And then I realized it was my red fletching. But I remember seeing it on his body. I remember seeing where it went in.
Oh, geez.
And I remember how hard, I remember the sound, all of it.
Yeah.
I turned around and I was like, I am awesome. He's died. You know what I mean? You know that feeling?
Awesome.
It's like,
I am the greatest man
like
alive.
when you're so sure that it's like, yes, I did it. Like I was just like, he's done. He's not going to go 10 feet.
Was he a good bull?
He was nice. Yeah, he was a good bull. I mean, I hunt public.
Here in Utah?
Yeah, like at the Uintas.
Yep.
I've been tracking this herd for days and days, and I finally like pieced out looking at my onyx in my tent one night. I'm like, oh, I think they're making like this circle.
I'm gonna intercept it backwards.
I couldn't figure out where they were going for a certain part of the day, and then I put it all together, and I went out just to see, and I sat up, and like 15 minutes later, this bull came in.
Oh wow!
And 17 yards, broadside, just walking, never saw me.
Oh, so you weren't calling to him? He had no idea you were there.
I went out there because they were bugling. I went out to listen, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a twig break and looked up, and I just saw antlers coming in, and drew back and waited for him to walk into the the lane. And yeah, I was so sure, man. I was so sure.
I'm telling you, there is nothing worse than that.
This is really embarrassing.
I shouldn't say nothing worse. There's lots of worse, but
it's top 5
that
for
is
sure.
Tough. Yeah. In hunting, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, this is like an embarrassing, cringy thing to say, but you're sitting there for an hour, right? And I was all jacked up, and I started writing what I was going to put on the Instagram post. Like I was so sure,
So, you also mentioned that your dog does not like taxidermy.
Yeah. No.
So do you have taxidermy in the house?
I do. I've got 3 or 4 big animals in the house, and every time I bring a new one, he's outside for about 2 days before he gets the courage to come in.
Yeah, before he trusts it.
He scouts with me all the time, and I can show you videos. We're 10 feet from elk, and he's just sitting there with me watching.
He's okay with them alive.
He loves the
Just
live
not
stuff.
Dead.
Something about the dead stuff.
Yeah. My dog, she's
Same.
a Vizsla, the same thing. Fine, she's fine. Bears, no problem. But man, taxidermy? I don't know. I jokingly before we got on, I said this, but I'm true. I honestly think they're worried they're next.
Yeah, probably.
But
they don't want to be around death. Yeah.
But you mentioned that you got a bunch of stuff from Africa. So you've been to Africa. Which country?
I did. I was in South Africa with Crusader and Field Ethos last year.
Okay.
I went on a trip with those guys, and I took a bow and a gun, shot a bunch of stuff with my bow. A bunch of stuff, 3 or 4 animals. Nice animal, Nyala, blesbuck, impala, zebra. I wanted a kudu so bad.
Oh,
And
that's what I'm going over this summer.
Yeah, dude, they're just, to me, that's like the African elk.
Yes, 100% agree.
And so I was actually really sick during the hunt. I ended up at the hospital for a few days. I thought I had malaria. I just got really bad, like strep or something.
Oh,
so I was working hard to kind of keep going, and I took the gun out the last day. Everybody was kind of done hunting. It'd been a long trip, and we looked and didn't find anything. And my guide and I and our tracker were driving back, and it was like the first time all week I actually rode in the cab, because in Africa you're right in the back, right?
Yeah, you're right in the high rack.
I was done. I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, not going to happen. That's okay. And we drove about a mile back towards camp, and the tracker knocked on the roof, and we all knew that he knew we were only looking for kudu.
Right.
So, I chambered around so fast and got out, and my guide talked to him, and he said, okay, he said he saw gray bodies in this really dark timber over here. I said, dude, we got to do a Wisconsin game drive,
Oh yeah.
So we sent the tracker up the hill. I went down the hill. Like, I ran as fast as I could. It was quiet. The guy had to come with me because he has to give me a go or no go.
Right.
And we set up in this kind of little opening and just waited. And it felt like forever, probably 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Started hearing branches break. And my guide's like, oh, here comes our tracker. And I'm like, no, man, that's in stereo. There's like breaking in different spots.
Mm-hmm.
And so he pulls his binos up to start looking. And I can start see these bodies emerging. And I can see horns on one. He's like, it's a cow. And I'm like, no, man, I see a bull. And he's like, no, I'm looking at it. It's a cow. I'm like, take your binos down. Because you have binos.
Right.
And you're looking at a tunnel. And you can't, yeah. And he pulls it down. He's like, oh, and he pulls the binos up. And by now the thing is like come out of the woods. And it's, you see an impala like bounding through the kudu was doing that. It was a big bull. Oh. And he was about on his third bound. And I had the scope. I pulled the rifle up, put it off safe. I was just waiting for the shoot. Found gray in my scope. I moved up to where I could see his front shoulder moving. He said, shoot. And I pulled the trigger and he just rolled. Like he just lights out. And 5 minutes later, the shooting light was over. And I'll show you a picture. He's a gray bull.
They are so beautiful. Such so pretty beautiful. Animal.
And just, I felt so blessed to have that happen at the buzzer.
Which makes even better story. Now, see, my story that way, I'd have missed him.
Nah, I doubt it.
I did actually. I almost same thing with a big, huge mule deer this year, and I missed him completely. Duffed the shot. I think what happens, I ranged. He was standing. There was a big, huge rock in front of him, not right over his kill, but between him and me. I think I ranged the rock
with your bow.
No, gun.
Oh, rifle.
It was a gun, 400 yards.
Oh, okay.
It was just
Got it.
dumb. But anyway,
it happens, man.
It does.
It's wild that it just.
But that's what keeps you going and keep doing it, right? If it was easy, it'd be boring. You didn't have those stories that kept. I mean, this deer's 190, 12-inch dropper, huge buck, like buck of a lifetime.
Buck.
Yeah, I have nightmares about it. Literally, wake up cold sweats. What did I do wrong? But anyway,
I always say you practice yoga.
Yes.
And I think it's that way with hunting. It's that way with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Every time I'm around somebody and they're like, I'm an expert, I'm like, are you? Because there's always somebody that's going to teach you something, or an 100%. Animal that's going to teach you something, or a shot that's going to teach you something. So I like to get better at everything every day, but you're right. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
There's no I know how to beat this level of Mario Brothers.
I know the cheat code, A, B, left, right, up, down.
The Mike Tyson thing, right? No, but that's what makes it fun, right? There's always something that's going to get thrown at you that you're like, I didn't think about this. How do I problem solve for this?
Yep. That's awesome.
It's all good.
So one of the questions, or I have 3 questions I ask everybody. What if you get, God willing, you get the to have a deathbed and it doesn't happen instantly? What are you going to be thinking about on a deathbed? What are you going to be
it's funny. I actually think about this when business gets hard. And it's like, man, I could have saved all my savings and had an easy job and had my weekends. But I always say, I don't want to be laying on my deathbed wondering if I could have done more, if I could have pushed harder. I really believe life is not a dress rehearsal. And you get these days, and once they're gone, they're gone. And so for me, I believe that I'm going to lay on my deathbed and be like, I went about as hard as I could. I hope that's my goal. I want to leave it all out there. I don't want to regret shoulda. So for me, that's what I think about every day. That's what I think about when business gets hard. It's like, oh, it'd be easier. Well, yeah, but I don't want to look back and be like, I should have tried to start a business and see what happened.
Yeah.
Because I think in the end, none of that's going to matter, right? What's going to matter is the experiences and the growth and the connection and that kind of thing. So that's where I go right away. But that's what I think about.
This is what you're gonna be laying there thinking. I have no regrets, and I did what I could to get there.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of successful guys think very similar to that.
Yeah,
very similar.
There has to be something that drives you because it doesn't actually make sense when you're in it. Yeah. It's way not worth it, in my opinion.
Agreed. So one of the other questions is TED Talk, which you know what a TED Talk is.
Yeah.
I explain it. If you don't know, the audience doesn't know. It's like a short talk that you do, 4 minutes, that is very, you become an expert at whatever subject that is, and you're very passionate about it, and you're good at whatever it is.
Yep.
So if you had the opportunity to do a TED Talk, what would it be on?
How to stay single late into your 40s. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. No, actually, it's funny because I've actually thought about this before because I was asked to do a TEDx, which is like the smaller ones.
One, yeah.
And that didn't happen, but I was like, wow, what if I had to give a talk? What would it be? So I've actually thought about this.
You're the first guest I've had on that's actually thought about this.
Really?
Yes.
So it's no specific skill, but it's kind of this mentality I have that almost ties back to what we just talked about with the deathbed. But what I like to do is I like to draw 2 lines that are the same size. Let's just say the 2 lines are 2 inches long each, like timelines on top of each other. Mm-hmm. I always say one is your comfort zone and the other is your opportunities. And they're the same. And then I go to the next page and you got the same 2 lines, but they're 8 inches long, right? The point being, the bigger your comfort zone, the bigger your opportunities. So my perspective has always been, you should live on the edge of those comfort zones and keep expanding that line. Take that 2-inch line to 2.25, to 3, to 7, to 20, because the more skills you acquire, the more, if you can't run a mile, think how many things you can't do in your life.
Yeah.
If you are intimidated to talk in front of 5 people, think how many things are going to be kept from you in your career. And any growth is uncomfortable. But my belief is you should be as uncomfortable as you can be every day, because that eventually becomes comfortable and then you can do it again. And the wider that gets, I think the more fulfilled you're going to be as a human, the more capable you're going to be to do whatever. I like to live in a way where I did a podcast with Mountain Tough, and they asked me about my training, and I don't train for anything specific usually. I just want to make sure that if somebody calls and it's like, hey, tomorrow we're doing this crazy thing, I don't say no because I'm not in shape to do it. If I've got something else going on, that's fine.
Right.
But I want to make sure I can always throw a backpack on and go and be able to do it. So that's a fitness example. But how do you do that mentally, right? Like, what if tomorrow I can be on the Joe Rogan podcast? No offense here. That's a huge opportunity, right?
Right, yeah.
What if you're like, oh, I can't do that, I'm too nervous. Well, you might be leaving millions of dollars in business on the table.
Yeah. And opportunities,
all that. So for me, that's always been my advice to anybody that asks. I just draw those 2 lines and I try to get the idea into them that you got to stay uncomfortable, because that's going to make you keep growing as a human. I think our world tries to make us very comfortable, whether it's the temperature of the house or the food in your fridge or Uber or whatever. And it just, the more comfortable you get, the harder anything else is.
So you've read The Comfort Crisis then?
Michael Easter's a buddy of mine.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. He's been on here too. He very insightful.
Very similar philosophy.
Very insightful.
We've talked a lot. And I that book is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I was like, man, you just took all the things in my head and made it very consumable, because I never really put it.
Disseminated down so I understood it.
With facts, all these things I thought were true. So yeah, that would be my answer there.
That is awesome. So be comfort. And once you get comfortable, expand again.
Get uncomfortable again.
Yep, that is way cool. So, one of the other questions that I ask, and this is kind of back to where we started when you first walked up, talking about your dog. Actually, why do you hunt? Why is it important?
Why is it important? I think it's people ask me this all the time because people know me from the past. You really got into hunting in the last decade or so. Why? And it's like the most human thing you can do, in my opinion. Like I think about people that are dealing with depression or stress or anxiety, and they're going to meditation or yoga or doing breath work. I'm like, have you ever elk hunted?
It's all of that.
It is. It's like Tai Chi. You know, you're walking through the woods, you got to freeze, and you got 1 foot, half in a step.
After you just did 6 miles with 60-pound
so
pack
now you got to control your breath.
Yeah.
You got to feel the wind. You got to be patient. You might have to sit there for 2 hours because that bull will not break its gaze on you. It's all those, like, people are trying to figure out how to feel human again. You just got to do what you're designed to do. And I think that, like, that is why it's important. If you ask why hunting's important.
Yeah.
Like somebody, if I had somebody that was like, I'm just struggling, tell me what I should do. I'd be like, let's get a bow and start shooting. And then let's go for 2 weeks. And I guarantee you're going to be a different person when you come out the other side.
100%.
And
Unplug.
I love that. There's probably a ton of ego in this convention center here.
Yeah.
There's a ton of dudes posturing. The woods, the animals, they don't care, man. That is a pure test. And
That's
I love that. I love being out there and screwing up and it being my fault, or having it, like I told you earlier, like I am awesome. You know, it's like you're overcoming so much to make that happen. It's such a hard thing to do. And there's a massive amount of luck in any success, I think. But at the
100%.
same time, you did a lot of things right.
100%.
And you keep getting a little better every year. And it's just,
you were prepared for it. Like back to being in shape. You were prepared for it.
Yeah.
Shooting your bow. You're prepared for that.
Well, and when I started bow hunting, like elk, when I moved to Utah, like seriously, I didn't get one for 3 years. And I spent a lot of days in the woods. And I just kept trying to figure it out. And there'd be these unlocks. And now it's more about like, I can find them, I can get into them. And then it's just kind of like waiting for the right shot, or maybe looking for something bigger. And it's just fun if you look at the progression. Like it's problem solving, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just so pure to me.
Yeah,
And I love that.
I agree. It's in it. When you've done it, you feel, oh my gosh, this is what I'm built for. Everything in my being is connecting this.
I always tell people, I think we have this caveman DNA.
Yeah.
That if you pick the scab on that, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Because people that start hunting, they drive down the road looking at the fields and looking at the woods that you didn't look at before.
Yeah.
But now you're like, I wonder, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if this looks like a really good place for elk.
Yeah. And it feels like you should be doing it because that's who we were supposed to be hundreds or thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be hunting because it was life or death.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's still in us somewhere. And those of us that let that breathe, it becomes such an important part of who we are. It's why these people are all here today.
Yeah. And we are, for the audience, we are at the Western Hunting Conservation Expo in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And there is 40,000 people wandering around here. I think by the end of the weekend, there'll be 70,000 people walk through the store. It's all like-minded.
It's a ton of people and it's all different types.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see with all the celebrity getting into it, I mean, these are people who can do whatever they want. Like, I brought up Joe Rogan. Like, why do you think Joe, like, he could do whatever he wanted? You know what he talks about more than anything?
Yep.
Bow hunting elk.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And he's not alone.
No, not at all.
So,
well,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Christian, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And having a conversation. And I can't wait to come check all your stuff out.
Yeah, swing over.
And, where can people find you? You're on Instagram?
Yeah, Christian Schauf, just my name. Our business is Uncharted Supply Co. Look, we spend enough on ads. If you type any of those words in, we should come up.
You're
going
to come up on my Facebook ad right now.
Just talking about it. Yeah, your phone heard us. So I hope so. But yeah, that's, you can find us. Come say hi. I love meeting people. I love hearing stories. I like hearing what we can do better and, what works. And we're just in it for the good fight.
Yeah.
So
well, I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing, keeping people safer, healthier.
Absolutely.
And when things go sideways, an out.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ike.